She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10.
Ever-empowering feminist, Joy herself, everyone. And this is why, of course, she's on The View and not working for the most powerful man in the world, because Karoline would wipe the floor with you bitter banshees any day.
The whole drama between Karoline and The View just escalated to another level. Now it looks like the hosts are in full panic mode, scrambling to piece things back together after Karoline absolutely wrecked them. And let's be real, did they have it coming? A lot of people sure think so. Now this is where the irony hits like a freight train. These hosts love preaching about uplifting women, especially in the workplace, but the second Karoline steps up, boom, suddenly all that empowerment talk disappears and they reduce her success to nothing more than her looks. And let me tell you, people noticed. Critics dragged them for it because seriously, how can you claim to support women while tearing down a young, accomplished one in the same breath? The hypocrisy is so loud, it's practically screaming. But here's where it gets good. Karoline wasn't about to sit back and take it. Oh no, she fired back and exposed The View for exactly what they are. Out of touch, agenda-driven, and drowning in their own double standards. And honestly, she wasn't wrong. But hold up, if Karoline is a 10, where does that leave Joy Behar? Well, leave it to Greg Gutfeld from Fox News to deliver the punchline in his signature no mercy style. Greg didn't hold back, throwing some serious shade at Joy, and let's just say his commentary did not do her any favors. But Karoline didn't just stop at Joy. Oh no, she had plenty to say about the Democratic propaganda machine too. She made it crystal clear they have two choices. Either ride the Trump wave or get left in the dust. Because let's be real, once Trump is out of the picture, what scandals will they even have to keep them relevant? Without their usual media-driven distractions and endless narratives, their so-called power is nothing more than an illusion on borrowed time. And judging by the stunned silence on The View, they felt that reality check hard.
Joy Behar calls her a 10. I mean, how dare she objectify a woman with a sexist rating system, but it's such a typical thing from a 1.5.
About that. And watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years. They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on their show. And it was a joy to watch them on November the 6th when they realized that tens of millions of Americans do not listen to the lies that they have spewed. These women are completely out of touch with reality. And you're right, ABC should wake up.
If you've been out of the loop and wondering how this whole mess started, buckle up because this drama is next level. The chaos is all over the airwaves, and at the center of it is Karoline Leavitt, shaking up the political scene like a storm. Now, The View is no stranger to controversy, but this time they played themselves. The moment Karoline stepped in as Trump's press secretary, the Democrats wasted no time launching their attack. Yep, that was the argument, but instead of damaging her credibility, their smear campaign completely backfired. What started as petty jealousy has turned into a full-blown disaster for The View. Their credibility is in shambles, their narrative is falling apart, and thanks to Karoline's fearless, no-nonsense approach, the hosts are now scrambling to control the damage. And spoiler alert, it's not going well.
She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10.
She said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Mm-hmm. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. She said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Mm-hmm. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason.
At this point, it's obvious to anyone with eyes. The hosts of The View aren't mad at Karoline because she's wrong. They're mad because she's younger, sharper, and actually deserving of the spotlight they've been hogging for decades. Their jealousy is practically dripping off the screen. And then there's Whoopi Goldberg, who swooped in like a mother hen trying to do damage control. But instead of addressing Joy's hypocrisy, she tried to shift the focus, scolding Karoline for what she called a lack of tolerance for weakness. Her exact words, Whoopi wasn't preaching wisdom, she was scrambling. She tried to blur the lines between civil rights and wokeness as if they were the same thing. But Karoline, she wasn't buying it for a second. In a now viral moment, she shut Whoopi down with brutal precision, making it painfully obvious that Whoopi either doesn't know the difference or is deliberately misleading her audience. Now, if Whoopi Goldberg is such a fierce supporter of women's rights, then why didn't she call out Joy Behar for reducing Karoline's success to just her looks? Maybe because Whoopi's so-called moral compass only works when it benefits her narrative. Instead of holding her co-host accountable, she wasted no time turning the conversation against Karoline right after the 27-year-old dared to use her first White House press conference.
Please, his opponents are saying to this very day the same rhetoric that led to those two attempts. The second attempted on President Trump's life echoed the sentiment that President Trump is a democracy. And if you're a deranged lunatic and you're mentally ill, you will believe that lie, and yes, you will take political like we have seen in two instances against President Trump. Tim Walz and Kamala Harris said that everyone who showed up to President Trump's rally.
One Twitter user summed it up perfectly. Imagine getting embarrassed this badly in front of the whole country. Karoline just ended Caitlyn's career in under 3 minutes. Even CNN's producers are probably shaking their heads behind the scenes. Caitlyn tried everything and still failed spectacularly. And just when she thought it couldn't possibly get worse, oh, it absolutely does. But this isn't just about one bad moment for Caitlyn Collins. This is about why the media keeps losing credibility. They twist facts to push their own narrative. They act like they're the smartest people in the room. But Karoline just proved how quickly they crumble under pressure. Now, CNN is scrambling. Karoline used her first White House press conference to call out the legacy media for losing the trust of everyday Americans. And just like clockwork, Whoopi pulled the race card, shifting the discussion from media accountability to identity politics, a classic deflection. Rather than addressing the real issue at hand, she went on a tangent, saying because black people couldn't get into colleges, because women couldn't get into the colleges they wanted to go to, this is all women. But Whoopi didn't stop there. She went full condescension mode, claiming that Karoline doesn't even understand what wokeness means. According to Whoopi, Karoline only criticizes it because she thinks it's a terrible thing to be. Whoopi doubled down, saying, "It's not a terrible thing to be." That's why we fought. That's what we're fighting for, so that you could stand at that podium, so that Karine Jean-Pierre could stand at that podium, so women of all colors and backgrounds, wherever they came from, whatever their beliefs were, could have the opportunity to bust down that door.